Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Vivek. I am an executive coach and a trainer. I'll talk a little bit more about myself in a bit. But first, let me thank all of you for joining in. And let me also congratulate each one of you for choosing to invest in yourself, choosing to invest in the organization's culture around this work-life balance. I know it's lunch hour. I'm sure a lot of you are also having, growly stomachs. So I get that. I'll try to make sure I'm able to add value to you and to your organization as we go forward in this journey. Will that be okay?
Yes.
Okay. We will keep this entire session extremely, it's an interactive session. So feel free to jump in, ask questions, ask about your org specific issues. This is a closed group. So whatever we do here, it stays with us. And we'll try to come out with what best can help your organization. With that, let me get started on a small deck. It's a deck, and feel free to interrupt, ask questions during this journey. I'm from an organization by the name of Origin Blue. And at Origin Blue, we are into people development. Our focus is to be able to help organizations, people bring their full potential to work daily. So that's what we do. And that's what this webinar is also a part of. Today, I'd love to speak to you about culture transformation and specifically building in an org culture that inspires work and life balance in the process. Work-life balance is one of these topics which has really caught the imagination a lot. Every organization talks about it. And at Origin Blue, we studied this over the last 3 years. And what we've come to realize, let me open all my cards at this moment, is that it's a trust issue and not as much as a time issue. So the key thing I'd like you to take away from this session today is work life is more a trust issue and not a time issue. As we get inside it, I'm going to talk a little bit further about what I mean by this. At Origin Blue, we decided to influence this space. We decided to influence this space because we believe it is at the root of some of the largest complaints that we have been seeing across the organization, right? So what do? We run 6 weeks of gamified work-life balance programs, which start right from your CXOs and narrow down to the youngest members of your organization. And to kick this off, initially, we are offering a 45-minute complimentary impact session for your CXOs so that they can really understand what work life as a culture means and how it's a trust issue and why it makes sense for future focused organizations to be investing in work-life balance. Should you want to avail this, please visit originblue.com. There's a Y at the end of the blue, so it's originblui.com. You'll see a red button called click start a free trial. Click that, select your work-life balance program, and register with your name and email ID. Our teams will start reaching out to you, and we will kick this entire thing off for you then. Okay, so with that underway, who am I? I'm an executive coach, spent the last 10 years with a lot of organizations across their culture issues. So I work with the big threes. So imagine the likes of the BCGs, McKinsey's, Bains of the world. I work with the big fours. Imagine the likes of Accenture, Ernst & Young's, Deloitte, etc. of the world. I work with the largest tech companies, so think the likes of Accenture, so on and so forth. Analytics companies, think Fractal, Mu Sigma, Tata Groups, RP Goenka, so on and so forth. So this is a gamut of companies I have been working with over the last 10 years in order to help them solve culture issues, help people bring their full potential to work. Very quickly awarded India's top 100 coaches by World Coaching Congress, Right for Forbes, Business World, Masters in Psychology. And before all of that, did my engineering from IIT Varanasi and an MBA from MBA Gurgaon. My last corporate role was as Chief Operating Officer at Transform Solution. It's a company that we subsequently led through an M&A. Before that, spent majority of my career with Procter and General Electric. At the bottom, you see me through a host of pictures. So I love motorcycling. I love trekking. I have my amazing wife along with me who generally accompanies me with all my adventures. And then towards the extreme right side, I have a small team that helps me put everything together over here. Let me move forward. People at work have always fascinated me. And this is an area I have always been curious about. And let me tell you why. Work creates the perfect storm. Work has got an extremely high impact situation where multiple beliefs are merging together. So we have a segment of beliefs which is called generational beliefs. We have a segment of beliefs which are called social beliefs. And we have a segment of beliefs which are called skill beliefs, right? And our work environment brings all of them together with a desire to create an output, with a need to serve the clients better. And that creates significant emotional stress, significant emotional triggers, creating a perfect storm. And a question that I had is, could this storm be killing us? Could this storm at workspaces be actually killing us? Over the last couple of years that I have been studying this area, this is what we found. We found that organization scores on work-life balance are at all-time low. As people rated multiple elements, they found that scores on work-life balance were low. Majority of the people complained about work-life balance issues. They also complained about their inability to even avail the current facilities that their organization offers, for example, paid leave, so on and so forth, weekends as well. Very interestingly, when I talked to the leadership, and this leadership is the CEOs of the organization, the CXOs of the organization, I found that the senior leadership actually worked to encourage work-life balance. They told me about them sharing tips, tricks with their organization people to encourage people to take holidays. They also talked how they want people to take holidays, and yet at the same time, they were skeptical. They were skeptical about, hey, will people disappear every day at 5 p.m.? What if I have urgent work that comes in? Also, they were skeptical, saying that a lot of time people are actually just being social at work, and I hardly see them working. They actually start working at later in the afternoon, and therefore they have to continue till later in the day. So how do I handle situations like that? A very senior partner in one of the large big four organizations actually told me this, because Vivek, you know what? A person will come in by around 10:30 to the office, then they'll do a tea break. They'll come back, maybe they'll log in, check their emails, then they'll take a lunch break, and then they'll come back in. So the work actually starts at 2 p.m. And if the work is starting at 2 p.m., it has to continue till around 9, 10 p.m., right, for it to be fair. So while leaders support work-life balance, they're at the same time also extremely skeptical or unsure about this entire area. This is a situation where I'd like to pause and I'd like to invite your questions. Should organizations be invested in helping their people, in helping their employees find a work-life balance? Love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Should organizations be invested in helping people find a work-life balance?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, sir, I'm an HR business manager at App Foster, and I think I would be able to answer this question because I am the mediator between the employees and the employer. So, I think yes, the organizations should be invested in helping employees with finding a work-life balance, and because by doing this, the organizations also are helping themselves if they are helping their employees to build a good work life balance because of that the employees are feeling positive with their personal life, so that energy gets transformed into their work as well. So in that ways the employer or the organizations will be helping themselves only if they are helping their employees finding a work-life balance.
Okay. Can I know your name, please? I missed your name.
My name is Anu. So,
Anu.
Anu.
Okay. So Anu tells us that as organizations help their employees, they get more energy, and that energy translates to a higher productivity. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing, Anu. What about others? Why should organizations be invested in work-life balance for employees?
So Vivek, adding on to Anu's point, I definitely agree that by investing, helping employees to find a work-life balance, it actually helps organization because the productivity increases, it motivates and it drives employees, and in a longer run, the retention increases.
So it helps an organization because it elevates a person towards a higher motivation, higher productivity, and maybe a more focused attention to work. Is that correct?
Totally agreed.
Now, here's the thing, right? And I hear the argument, and I think it's a very fair argument. But here's the thing. Imagine me to be a line manager in a business, right? Any of the businesses that you all are a part of. My core KRA or key responsibility areas are actually to get deliverables done for my clients, correct? My core area or focus is to make sure that for my organization, I produce the most. It is the individual's responsibility to take care of his well-being, to take care of his life elements, right? So why do I want to get over there? And aren't there some privacy issues that might start coming in? So how would that play out then? Love to get inputs. Any ideas, folks? Any thoughts? So let me pick upon this a little further, right? Majority of the people, in fact, 80% of the workforce today considers culture as an extremely important aspect of their decision to join and continue in the organization that they are looking to join or continue. A significant element of culture, in fact, almost 40% of this element of culture is contributed by the way an employee feels in that organization. And work-life balance becomes an extremely important element for the way a person feels in an organization. In times today, a lot of elements are visible to people. For example, your culture comes out through applications like Glassdoor, etc. Your salary points start coming out and people are able to compare across different elements. So that competitive edge that at one point salary is offered or that at one point anything else offered, knowledge offered, is being overtaken. And this very difficult term called culture has started coming in. Work-life balance influences the ways people speak about your culture. And that is something that we have to be very watchful of. If I were to continue moving this forward, they also found a very strong correlation between attrition and work-life balance. What they discovered is that people tend to leave organizations. Guys, can you go on mute?
That I can plan. I have seen it is not.
Admin, can you help mute? Thank you. So what we found is that as people are moving out of an organization or the decision to stay in an organization, work-life balance starts playing a very important role. There is a certain gender disparity over here. People or organizations with a higher women tend to weigh work-life balance far higher as compared to men. So any organization looking at diversity goals, any organization looking to build women leadership in their organization will have to focus more on making sure there is a right work-life balance which is available to their people. Should your organization be having a higher attrition, or should your organization be looking to reduce the overall attrition levels? Look at work-life balance as one of the elements that might be playing out there. Let me pause at this point and let me invite thoughts on this particular topic.
So can you please give the question again?
So my question is, work-life balance is influenced by a company's culture. So the way people speak about culture reflects your work-life balance. Also, companies with a higher attrition impact culture, right? Have you seen this correlation as you work in your organizations?
Yes, sir, definitely. So, sir, I've seen that when we talk about company culture or work-life balance, so I've seen so many people or so many new employees, they ask for flexible work hours.
Mm-hmm.
So they only agree to join an organization if they get flexible work hours, because that is I believe their work of their style of working, and they would like to have their work life balance, and they expect the organization also to resonate with their requirements. And I think this particular these kind of requirements, they'll still keep on increasing.
Okay. So flexible work hours is one element which is coming very strong into play. In fact, a lot of people are assuming that it has to be there by default. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm, very fair.
Flexible
Do I have
flexible
anybody who comes from a manufacturing setup? So in services, flexible hours is relatively easier, but in manufacturing setup, it becomes a little more interesting. So do I have anybody from manufacturing setup who can share their thoughts? Okay. Let me move forward. We'll come back to this one. Okay. How can organizations create a culture that harmonizes work and life? How can organizations create a culture that harmonizes work and life? Is a question that we asked ourselves, and we got into a lot of detailed study around this. And this more so in the Indian context. Indian context is a little unique, right? And it is not fair to reapply the West policies onto our content. The Indian context is characterized by low trust. It is also characterized by higher hierarchy, and at the last moment, a very young working force which is out there. So, how may we create an organization culture that focuses on work-life balance, given these parameters of Indian context? Okay, and through our study, we found that it is possible to build the right work balance in an organization, and not as a trade-off. It's not my work will go down if my life element increases, and vice versa. However, all of this requires a conscious exercise, and it needs us to attack at the root and not at the surface. And which is where uh, it's been observed that work-life balance is a trust issue in an organization and not a time issue. Let me share a couple of examples, and these were verbatims that I have received over the years of different people. As you look at this, feel free to underline or mark anyone that you resonate with in particular. For example, point number one, I feel guilty when I ask for leaves. How many over here resonate with this? So therefore, I don't even ask for leaves. I might be complaining about me not being able to take a leave, but I find it difficult to take a leave. If I leave early, what will my manager think? What will my boss think? Will I be at a disadvantage over others who are, for example, pretending to leave late? Should I be keeping myself available even after office hours, right? So should I be accessible? Should I be on my emails? What's the rate? Do I need to take a phone call when I'm having, let's say, my dinner, or I'm with my family, or on a holiday? Right. I want to take a day off, but my manager just gets angry. What do I do? Right. Whenever I take a leave, or whenever I am looking to leave the office a little early, my manager will just come up with a lot of last minute requests, which inevitably delay my evening plans. If I go for a holiday, I always get this thing: make sure you're accessible, make sure you're able to log in for that one call, so on and so forth. Have any of you experienced this, any of these elements, or many more of these elements? Let me pause, let me invite thoughts. So, Pradya, any of these elements that resonate with you? Ria?
Yeah, some of them.
Yes.
A lot of them, right?
Yes, not personally, but yes, we do get certain similar concerns from certain employees.
I mean, these are the elements that each one of us might have faced or might be facing. I mean, one of those at least are there in the bucket list. So yes.
Yeah, that is so true. And you'd have something or the element around this that people will be telling you about, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. And I have a certain set of newer people. I have Amit joining us. I have Shimpi joining us, Ravi. I've got Priya joining us. Let me welcome you over and invite your thoughts on this topic. Shimpi, Priya, something you'd like to add?
Hi, Vivek. This is Gaurav.
Hey, Gaurav.
Yep. So, see, I work in Middle East, and when I compare with my working culture with the Indian companies, which I keep on hearing from my colleagues, the biggest challenge which I feel is that the people in India, the bosses call very on a very means they can call anytime, right?
Yes.
When I compare it in this part of world, when I'm on the holiday, I will never get a call. Right? And after office hours, if my boss has to call me, he will first say sorry and can we talk? Right? Then this is one thing. Second thing which I have experienced is, let's say there was an example when one of my colleagues was sick. My general manager made sure that he called him at least 10 times in 1 week just to ask him how is he feeling, does he require any help? Which I feel that when I interact with all my colleagues back in India, they say that these things are missing. So, like you have mentioned that when I ask for leave, I feel guilty. Here in this part of the world, we don't means it is mandate to go on leave. So these things make a lot of difference. Yes, there are organizations which have all these work-life balances, but still, I feel majority of in this part of the world is these things are taken care.
Very fair feedback. I think that's very right, Gaurav. And what I'm hearing from you is that in India, you've seen that managers tend to call anytime, and there might not be so much of respect for an individual's own time. Whereas in the Middle East, if a manager needs to call you, first of all, they will not. But if they need to, they will first seek permission using, let's say, WhatsApp or something else, and then only get in touch with you. Is that right?
Yeah. That's true.
I think that's a very fair. I think that's a very fair observation, and thank you so much for bringing this up.
My pleasure.
Anybody else would like to also weigh in? Yeah, please. Okay. So in that case, let me move forward. Organizations with the greatest leadership have relatively less complaints about work-life balance. because what they have been able to do is integrate this into a part of their work environment. And let me walk you through the way some of these organizations started taking some baby steps. So first, we've got to understand that this requires a culture change. It's not a standalone one, let's say 1 hour lunch session or something like that. It requires an intervention of at a cultural level. Phase one is to get started, right? And as with any transformation exercise, get executive buy-in. And we've got to get executive buy-in on building trust in the organization. It's not about, hey, we need to let people go on leave. It's about, do we trust our people to be able to deliver what we want them to deliver and then enjoy their life? Once we settle down on the key principles, the core things we want to be hold people accountable towards, the phase two starts. And phase two focuses on seeding work-life balance with champions in the organization. These would be line managers, these would be organization influencers present in small teams. Typically, there'll be team leaders, there'll be project or program managers who will be all pervasive. And with them, we've got to help them understand what elements of culture do they want to start seeding in? What elements of work culture do they want to start living themselves? So it starts with seeding with that audience and prepares them to be able to further translate that to the rest of their organization. Having done with mid-management, it then moves to the larger organization, and a rollout to a larger organization needs to be done. So it's not a standalone lunch and learn kind of session. It's not a standalone, let me invite a senior leader to speak something on work life for everybody culture. It is executive sponsorship, seeding with champions, and scaling to the entire organization. The 5 principles that I'd like to talk to you about: first, change start from the top, get executive sponsorship. Second, solve for trust. It's not a work-life balance issue, it's a trust issue. And that is what we want to solve for. A third key principle that distills with everybody is work life is a choice and not really a balance. For example, nobody in times today can say, okay, I'm only going to work 9 to 5. Work will spill over in different elements. You might start late, you might finish late, so on and so forth. Everybody's got to make a choice of what is important to them at that time. This is incidentally place. This is a choice where we've found a lot of professionals missing. They are unable to make a choice. They are unable to decide what is important to them at that particular point of time, leading to complaints, but no real solution, because there is no solution to something that we don't have an idea about. In a lot of cases, what we also discovered is while people complain about work-life balance, quite honestly, the moment you start asking them about the definition of life for them, there hardly is a very conclusive answer. There hardly is an element of what life means for me, other than some vague answer. So helping employees get a clarity on what life means, on what work means, and what choice do they want to make today is an important element. The next principle, integration of work and life is a reality. And this is something that we've got to help our people also understand. It's not an either or, it's an and. Now, this is a skill. It's a skill that needs for me to understand at what times is my life important and at what times is my work going to gain importance. So helping people make these choices, make these transitions, helps people integrate work and life in a seamless manner such that it's a good thing. The last but not the least is this skill called building boundaries. Have you heard of this skill called building boundaries? Anybody here who has heard this term called building boundaries? Boundaries, let me start from the basic physical definition, is like a fence that we put around a house. It demarcates the area where my property starts and separates it from the city or the town or the road that I might be a part of. Similarly, how do we, in our personal space, build boundaries? How do we create these boundaries with ourselves? How do we create these boundaries with our managers? How do we create these boundaries in our own life? And this is a skill. It's not something that gets taught, but it's a life skill that must get taught with people. So these are 5 principles that a good work-life balance initiative anchors itself on. Let me repeat it once again. Change starts from the top. Get executive sponsorship. Solve for trust that is missing. It's a choice, not a balance. Integration is a reality. And last but not the least, building boundaries is a critical skill that our employees must get familiar with. Let me move forward. A couple of common mistakes. Believing it will solve for itself will never work. No initiative, no desire or wish on culture element will ever solve by wishing for it, right? Believing that senior leaders sharing their best practices will solve it. These elements help. Having conversations help. Having senior leaders speak about their best practices help. But will it solve? I haven't seen an organization that says yes, it has. It's moved the needle, but not completely. Second, third, not starting from the top. We've talked about this earlier, not starting from the top, not solving for trust in your work-life interventions, not seeding enough champions, because your CEO and your CXOs might speak about it, but if at the grassroots, I am not seeing people who I see every day living it, I will start fearing it. And last but not the least, not enabling or allowing conversations on this particular topic. And as leaders who want to drive this mandate in the organization, as leaders who might just want to be including this into their own cells, I'd highly encourage you to look at these 5 key principles, look at some common mistakes that people make, and ensure that it does not repeat for ourselves. I am pretty much done with what I wanted to share with you about. Very quickly, we talked about it's a trust issue. We also talked about how organizations are scoring very low on work-life balance, but senior leaders encourage people to have a work-life balance, although they remain skeptical about the elements of it. How organizations should invest very consciously in a work-life balance culture, because it helps people talk about their culture in the right way. It also reduces attrition at very critical roles. Further, we've talked about the Indian context, which is low trust, hierarchy-led, young workforce, and the challenges that this workforce will have on a work-life balance culture. We've also talked about the process that you can typically use in order to lead your organization through a good work-life balance culture transformation, some principles, and last but not the least, some common mistakes. I'm going to pause at this particular point. I'm going to stop sharing my video now so that I can speak with you, and love to invite your thoughts, your questions, or anything that you'd like to discuss.
Vivek, hi, Sanjeev here. Thanks for a very nice, thought-provoking discussion. One quick comment, and my introduction, I run a small HR consulting and work with IBM and HCL, some organizations in HR. And nowadays there's a discussion that work-life balance is no more relevant. It's more work-life integration, because when we say balance, it means one versus other, right? Work versus life, right? I mean, but today the way we are working, it is so fuzzy. The distinction between the
Yes.
work and the life, it is really, merged into each other. It's very hazy, right? So
Yes.
today, a lot of people talk about, and that it's work-life integration that one needs
Yes.
to attempt at. I'm sure that you have in your mind as well. But I mean, you are an expert on this, but your thoughts on that, how we can approach work-life integration issues versus work-life balance.
Yes, that's very fair. Before I do that, admin, can you unspotlight me so that we can have everybody's videos coming in and we can all speak? Gentlemen, ladies, if it's okay, I'd love for you all to switch on your videos. I'd love to see all of us so that we can have a more conversation-oriented chat. Will that be possible? Excellent, Pradya. Thank you very much. Sharadji, thank you very much. Lovely seeing you. Beautiful smile you've got there. Okay, Sanjeev ji, thank you. All right,
Yeah,
I can
I'll
see a
put
few
it
of
up.
us. Riyaji, I see you. Gaurav, Faisal, thank you. Excellent. So I think it's a very fair thing. The question that you have, I missed your name. Could you help me know your name once again?
My name is Sanjeev. Sanjeev
Sanjeev
Desai.
ji. Okay. So Sanjeev ji, you're absolutely right. A very big element of our work is the integration of work and life, and that is actually one of the core principles, right? Um, the challenge that starts happening is a young employee's ability to interpret that in the right way. A lot of times people as individuals are not able to, in our study, what we found is that individuals really don't understand the meaning of this integration, right? Somehow we feel entitled for a 9 to 5. Okay. And because we feel entitled, moment something spills beyond that or something changes,
Yeah.
we are in a complaint mode. Oh, my organization's culture is so bad. My organization's culture doesn't work. They make me slog so much. Not realizing the time when he probably started late. Not also realizing the waste that he's been putting in at work, which is with socializing, coffee, tea breaks, so on and so forth. So this realization with people is very critical, right? That you've got to have this work element, you've got to have the life element, and how it serves you overall. But to your point, integration is extremely critical, and it's got to be worked with people as a skill.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev ji.
Hi, this is Bhavna. I also wanted to share an observation. So what I sometimes see is in terms of the leadership. So there are different mindsets that leaders also have. Like some leaders would want to give some flexibility to the employees, but some would be very stringent. Like they feel that if they give flexibility, they will not be able to have the right control in terms of deliverables and all. That is one thing that I observe. And on the other point, I also see sometimes it depends upon the employees also, because of which managers or leaders feel hesitant to provide flexibilities, because there will be some employees who will not be so committed to the deliverables. Maybe, for example, someone is planning for a leave for next day, and managers want them to take care of the deliverables or do the transition, but that will not be done in a proper way, because of which they might have to, even they don't want to, managers are bound to reach them to while they are on leave, because it's a critical delivery that is due for the next day. So these are also some instances where I feel it is sometimes difficult for managers also to give away that flexibility, where they feel hesitant that, okay, if I give this, maybe people will take an advantage, or at least the ones who is not very committed would take an advantage of it. Is just an observation that I wanted to share and get your inputs as well.
I think these are very fair observations, Bhavna, and I'd completely agree with you. And to your point, this is exactly where leaders become very skeptical about this conversations around work life, right? Therefore, the solution of work life is not work life. Okay. The solution to work life is strengthening the trust thread in an organization. Okay. A young employee who has a critical delivery, like you highlighted, has to extend that trust to his organization that I will be making that delivery, so that the rest of the team does not have to face flack because of me. Correct? So he has to make sure that he extends that trust. And just like the senior leaders have to extend the trust that I trust you to deliver. Correct? Now, trust in its entirety comes across as a very vague term. It comes across as a very open term. But the moment we start double clicking inside it, there are behavior elements or there are culture elements which, should the leadership choose, can get built into an organization that inspires more and more trust. Right. So to your point, I think that's very fair. Sometimes as individuals, we get very casual. Sometimes as leaders, we want more command and control over the deliveries. And that makes this entire thing very tight or a very naughty situation. The only oil which can eliminate this friction is build elements of trust into your culture. From what is called a command culture organization, we have to go towards a curiosity-based organization, and that solves a lot of this. If you want, I'm happy to chat up separately with you on a lot of these elements, but I do hope I gave you a little, got you a little closer to what you need to do.
Yeah, surely you did. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Bhavna. Folks, any other questions that you may have? Fantastic. With that, I think we can look to wrapping this one up. I'm going to close this with the final offer that I made earlier. If work-life balance culture transformation is something that is of interest to you, I'd love for you to go to originblue.com. That's B-L-U-Y. So ORIGINBLUY.com. Click on start a free trial, select work-life balance, start a free trial. And as an introductory program, we will be offering a 45-minute conversation with your CXOs, with your leadership, to kick this entire initiative off.
Hello.
Should you want to?
So can I ask one last question?
Absolutely, Anu, please.
Yeah. So why is your organization called Origin Blue? What is the significance behind the name?
What's the significance behind the name Origin Blue? Is that right? I'd love to answer that, but Anu, before that, you'll have to buy me a coffee.
Okay, sir, sure.
I'll connect with you separately. So the founders of our organization basically wanted this to be so we wanted to focus on people. Everything starts off with people, correct? Everything on this world starts off with people coming together. Hence origin. And blue stands for Earth, the blue planet. So people originate things, people create things. And at the same time, people is something that we focus the least on. How can Origin Blue be that anchor which helps organizations start focusing on people a lot more? So that was one. Second, we explicitly wanted to focus on the work environment. So we don't go into the personal space, we focus on the work environment. The reason why we focus on the work environment is work unites us towards a larger purpose, right? As an individual, I can do only so much. But as my organization unites with me, I'm able to create so much more, right? So work unites us towards a common purpose. It helps me achieve something much larger. At the same time, work combines a lot of diverse beliefs, thoughts, ideas, egos, personalities, and that creates a storm. People spend a majority of their lives at work. So can we help people at work become better so that the outcomes or the outputs that the rest of the world experiences become better? So that's the reason why Origin Blue, that's the reason why we focus on people at work.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Now,
Thank
Anu, you owe me a coffee though.
Yes, sir, sure. Please ask your team to contact me.
Will do so. Folks, please visit Origin Blue. Please start your free trial of the Work-Life Balance program. I'll be happy to extend a conversation with your CXOs to help them understand their role in this entire situation and what can they do to make a difference to their organization. Organizations of the future will lead with work and life of people, and that's what I'd love for you to build. Sharadji, you had a thought.
Vivekji, fantastic. I mean, you really explained very nicely. The manufacturing sector, what you told, the work-life balance. Yes, manufacturing industry has work-life balance challenges because, like at the blue collar level, they have to be there at the manufacturing site and perform the duties and all. But at the corporate side, yes, the few of the departments are there where you have work from home options, work-life balance will be there. So it was a great session, Vivek, and thank you, Vivek and Sanjay, for hosting this particular good session.
Thank you very much, Haraji. Pleasure having you with us.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Team, I am done. You can drop off. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. We are Origin Blue. Love to have you connected. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Vivek Slaria. It's Slaria. Very happy to connect with all of you there.
Yeah, I've shared the request on LinkedIn, sir.
Bilkul, bilkul. I will immediately accept it, sir. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. If you have a question, stay on. I'm here. But if not, feel free to drop off.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you sir, for such an insightful session. Can you share your personal journey with like work-life balance and any lessons you have learned along the way?
Absolutely. During the early days of my career, Surovika, I started my career with Infosys, right? And this is way back in 2001, right? There was no concept of work-life balance, quite honestly. Okay. This was a time when Indian software industry was kind of growing up, right? I don't think we had any flexible hours. We had anything. I think every day in the morning, we had a punch-in time of around 9:30. Okay. And we had to make sure we are punching at 9:30. There was no closure time, right? So we had to be in offices pretty much till late. 10:30, 11 would be a norm. Okay. Saturday, Sundays working would also be a norm. And there were two parts to it. I had a manager with me who would encourage everybody to leave by 6:30, right? I also had a manager with me who himself would stay around till 8:30 at night. Being extremely young, I was hardly 21 at that time. I would just keep staying till my manager stays, right? Whether I have or whether I don't have work. Okay. So I felt if I leave early, will I be looked wrong upon? Will my promotion be hampered in any way? Will the other person start picking up, so on and so forth, right? So that was, I think, the first thing that I felt. From there, I then moved on into General Electric. GE also, the concept of work-life balance just did not exist. Okay. My day used to start at 6 a.m. in the morning and it will go until around 10, 10:30, 11 at night. I was serving clients in 3 continents, right? I started off my day with Japan, then I used to move on to UK, and then it would go on till the US. Okay. And quite honestly, I never complained. I never even thought I could complain. I never even knew that I could create a life. That happened. Then I moved to Procter. And Procter is a place where I finally started correlating that more work does not mean more efficiency, right? In fact, more work means lower performance, lower efficiency. My manager there actually helped me understand that, Vivek, you are perhaps unplanned, and which is why you're doing this, right? And so the first thing I had to do was I had to force myself into planning my work better. The second skill that they taught me was to create boundaries. So they told me, you have to tell us when you are available for work. You have to tell us when you are not available. Okay. And you have to tell us when you are flexible, right? So for example, I then started building a schedule, which is, I started leaving. I had a couple of late night calls. So I made Mondays and Wednesdays my late night days. So I'd say, you know what, Mondays, I'm going to be in the office till around 10:30, 11 at night. These were days where work from home was not so common. You had to be in the office to be at work. So I would say I'll be in the office till 10, 11, but then Tuesdays, I will be leaving by 4 p.m. Right? And then Wednesdays, I will again be here till 10 o'clock and maybe even Thursdays. But Friday, I'm going to wrap up my day by 2 p.m. Okay. So I defined these boundaries for myself. I let my manager know. I let my manager plus one know. I also let all my teammates, my entire client network know these are my available hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that helped a lot. That helped me be more disciplined. I could go on my regular exercise regimen. I picked up newer hobbies, and that just helped me become better and better.
Okay.
Since then, I then started working in a startup, which is the place where I am in right now. And the concept of work life generally ceases to exist in a young organization.
Yeah.
But then here was the thing. Um, it didn't seem like work because I was enjoying what I was doing, right? So it was a journey of like continuously working because your manager will take a bad impression of you, to defining the way you want to work, to making what you love your work, which is where I am at today. So I really feel that I am at work now.
Okay. Great. And there any strategies that you have found like most effective in maintaining a healthy work-life balance?
Defining boundaries.
Okay.
So just telling everybody when am I available and when am I not available is a great idea. That's one, on a daily basis, right? Second, planning. So with my wife, I'm moving towards a time where once a quarter we take leave.
Okay.
Okay. So planning for that upfront and letting everybody know about that upfront helps.
Yeah.
Okay, because then people can schedule work time. I can schedule crisis along it. Still, some crisis happens for sure. And it's not that I have a perfect holiday, but at least it's a little better than what it was. And second, at least I'm taking some leaves. Correct. And I think the last thing that helped me a lot was defining very clearly what I meant by life. Okay. If life for me was what's for dinner, then trust me, I really don't have a life. Right? So I had to really define what I meant by life. And what I meant by life was my personal hobbies, my personal interests, right? The time I spend with my significant other, the time I spent in doing what I want to do. So then that definition started giving me impetus to do something.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Some of my strategies. But Suvika, what I'd love to do is I'd love to hear your strategies as well. Why don't you message me on LinkedIn as you try implementing some of them and how that came across for you?
Yeah, I will definitely do. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Team, any other questions? Any other thoughts? With that, at 2 p.m., let me wrap up this particular conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of this today. Once again, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn at Origin Blue, ORIGINBLUY. Happy to connect, ping us, chat with us, and I'll be only too happy to work with you on it. Bye.